Yes.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all our students. My name is Professor Idowu, Professor in the Department of Zoology here in Funaab. This afternoon, the university has requested me to talk about university culture. So my theme or my topic for discussion this afternoon is university culture as a tool for building an enduring educational system. Now let me give a kind of preamble. The topic that we are discussing this afternoon is a very sensitive one. It's subtle. It's not in any curriculum. But it says so much about the university. The unfortunate thing is that there is no aspect of this university culture that is taught anywhere. And so we live in it, but we are not taught how to go about it. So it evolves through the different sphere of the university community. And as it evolves, it defines us. It defines us and it tells people about who we are. And I also must say that it starts from the gates of the university, spread to the classroom, to the lectures, to the practical lab, and also ends at the gate. And it has this strong relationship on individuals, even those who are not stakeholders in the university. So, what is university culture? I've looked at several definitions. These are two definitions that I want to use today. University culture refers to the way of life within the university community in terms of what we believe in, the acceptable behavior, the norm and tradition based on the history of the university. It can also be referred to as a comprehensive reflection of people's ideology, behavior rules, and spiritual perseverance. And I must say that during their research, teaching, studying, or works, teachers, students, and people on campus commonly have their beliefs, norms, and regulations which create a kind of special behaviors and culture. We can then summarize that the university culture is therefore a production of interrelationship that has evolved over the years. I like to say this, that when you look at universities all over the world, they have some common elements among themselves, but each university is unique. Each university is defined by its own culture. Let me state again, culture is learned, is shared, it is dynamic. Culture is not taught or inherited. We learn it by association, through social contact, gist, unwritten history, and recently through interactions on social media. You can then say they are like unwritten rules and subtle social cues in every campus community that are learned by observation. I like to emphasize this. Learned by observation and really spoken out in a loud way. Culture is who we are without talking, without uttering a word, without any announcement. How does this university culture evolve? It evolves through the conduct of lecturers and students during teaching and practical session, research periods. It involves when staff and students interact, whether at the ICT rec, whether at the works department, whether at the bursary or the registry. It also involves through attendance and contributions at different meetings, through staff and student welfare, union activities, attendance and conduct at different university ceremonies. And one of the things about the university culture is that it requires the university to create an enabling environment that will make the student to study. It also requires a spiritual atmosphere. And therefore, culture, the university culture is the totality of the university integrity, attitude, lifestyle of the people, work ethics, relationship of staff. I'm emphasizing this for us to know that even though it is not taught, it comes by relationship, by association. It is also defined by how people see us. How do people outside the gate of Funaab, how do they see staffs and students? How do they relate with us? It must be said here that culture provides a framework for building potential leaders. That's why an assistant lecturer can rise through the rank and become a vice chancellor. An administrative one officer can eventually become the registrar of the university. The student comes in like a novice from a secondary school, and he graduates and eventually he gets a PhD from the university. Let me now come home. Does Funaab have his own culture? Is there anything called the Funaab University culture? Yes. I like to say again, yes, Funaab does. It's about what we are known for. And I like to say this story. Sometimes ago when it was no Manco that time, I forgotten the name that we used to call our transport system for students. And somebody was passing, I think around Obantoku, and he saw a group of people lining up, and the man was so stunned, and he went on social media, he took the picture, and he commented that in his entire lifetime he has never seen a people cultured like this, standing, waiting. And so, like I said before, we don't need to talk, but that's what people see us to be. What was UNAB like in those days? People will tell you it's a serious environment. The people are too academically serious, not giving to too much social. Even our pre-degree in those days was so tough that people who passed through our pre-degree could go to anywhere to study, even medicine. I have a younger brother who did pre-degree here. He's a consultant, a pediatrician today. People know us that our students are well behaved, disciplined, diligent, and duty conscious. It was an orderly society. It has a friendly and attractive environment in terms of aesthetic. I mean, come to Funaab, the Olumwa Rock, the Green Lawns. We used to compare ourselves with Ife. Students refer their lecturer, they don't fear them. It's like they respect them. In Funaab, we don't cross lawn. And let me say that even though university culture is not taught, somewhere along the line, someone or some people set the agenda. And that made me to go into the archives to look at what it was at the beginning. I am going to read to us some of the remarks of the pioneer Vice Chancellor, Professor Olorunniyi Adedipe. I'm going to read it to us. Now, I got this from his two books. The first book is that Funaab, it was Funaab in his era, that Funaab may excel. It was published in 1995 at the end of his tenure. And the other one is shining light in my life. The first that I'm going to read to us is the first interaction of the Vice Chancellor with the staff, academics and non-academic. I was not here at that time, but it was recorded. The Vice Chancellor said, Professor Olorunniyi Adedipe said, the Vice Chancellor expects staff to have tolerance, patience in all facets of the work and lives. And I must exercise this. This speech was given in 1989. And I just passed through the stairs of ICT Reg and I saw a number of students. And you will agree with me that to deal with them, you need tolerance and you need patience. He said he does not expect loafing. I want staff to work without being watched. He pleaded that staff should not constitute themselves into habitual casual leaves beneficiaries, since this will reflect negatively on them. He wants them to perform the duty for which they are paid. They should be productive. They should execute the habit of thinking other colleagues will do it for them. This silently, this was the agenda for the university culture that the Vice Chancellor then expects both the academic and non-academic staff to pursue. He was addressing, I think, the first matriculation ceremony in February 4, 1989. And he said, as I quote, I must therefore urge you to regard the period of your undergraduate study as one not only for thorough and painstaking preparation for your chosen career, but also a reflection on how you will live a life of exemplary and disciplined participation in the community. Please mark that word. But also a reflection on how you will live a life of exemplary, disciplined participation in the community and of a dedicated patriotic contribution to the task of building a new Nigeria we envision for the 21st century. See how the then Vice Chancellor set the agenda for the student. I think that's the first set of students. He said, and I quote, it is our vision that the new nation to emerge will not only be self-reliant, that's how many years ago, but will indeed be characterized by, among others, an unalloyed patriotism and devoted service to the country. See where we are today. The man was like a prophet. As well as the total rejection of divisiveness based on ethnic and religious differences. I wish we read this maybe often among ourselves so that we will set the agenda again. Not divisiveness based on ethnic and religious differences. He also said, it is also our fervent hope that due recognition will be given to the attainment of agricultural development as an indispensable milestone in our journey towards a buoyant economy. And finally, to the undergraduate student, he said, for our part, here in Funaab, we have instituted some form of financial assistance to students. This is not simply to assist them financially, but to promote scholarship, good character, and the spirit of service for development in their possible ramification. I came into Funaab in 1992, and you could see the spirit of this discussion is addressed to the students and staff. You could see it pervading in every sphere of Funaab then, especially in terms of character, discipline. I think when Professor Balogun came, the last part, which was promote scholarship among students, good character, came into being, and I was then the chairman of ceremonial. There was this night of excellence, and you could see in UNAB that time there was serious competition. First class students, even if you were not the best in your department or in the college, you were given 20,000 naira. So everybody wanted to be part of it. And I also remember that staff and students used to be given special gifts. 100,000 for the best, a laptop for students, TV, big TV. And therefore, the environment during that time was such a disciplined one. Everybody wanted to be counted. And I remember something that happened while we were conducting, I think, is it jam screen or post jam? There was this rowdiness, and Professor Balogun was passing in front of the gate. And one of the driver just said something. He said, "Kí ni gbogbo rádaràda tó ń ṣe bí tó yẹ kán wá bus, instead tó fi ń gbé wọn wọlé kán gbé bus kí gbogbo àwọn parents jókòó síta kán fi, sorry that I'm speaking in Yoruba, just to kán fi bus kó àwọn ọmọ wọnú ilé lọ, tá bá dẹ̀ tún ṣe tán kán fi bus kó wọn padà." And Professor Balogun had that. Because everybody in the system is important. And he asked the driver, "Do you think it will work?" He said it will work. And he said, "If it doesn't work, you are fired." And it worked. And I remember towards the December ending, we were compiling the list of those who will get award. And I remember it was at the VC's lodge outside that time. And he said, "Hey, kí lorúkọ driver kan báyìí?" He was asking me. I wasn't there when the driver was making the statement. So luckily, the chairman of, I think it wasn't Funaab, but it was Manco that time, Dr. Awokola was there. And then they had to do investigation, and then the driver was found to be one individual, I don't want to mention its name, and he was credited for that, what I would call the success of that transport system that made our youth post-UTME that year to be successful. And we follow it up. That was the spirit of everybody contributing. And before I leave Professor Eno Adedipe, he addressed postgraduate students, the first set of postgraduate students, in 1994, in March. And he said this to them in his address. I'm going to quote, "Knowledge for development is our motto. But there cannot be true and proper development if balanced knowledge is not acquired. Intellectual development must be accompanied by development of good personality, character, and learning must be suitably developed by our students. In this regard, our foundation postgraduate students have the onerous task of laying a sound foundation for cordial interpersonal relationship between themselves on one hand, and between themselves and the staff in the university community, guiding them. And his final words, it says, let the maturity of our postgraduate students serve as a guide to the behavior of the younger ones in the university. Now, you can see somebody quietly setting an agenda for a university community that he desired. And when you look at it, like I said earlier, the university culture is not learned. It's through observation. It's through, this is how we do it here. And you will see that over the years, it has been like that. And in his book, Is Light in My Life, Sunny All the Way, published in 2010, Professor Adedipe summarized his tenure in this quote. The student responded well to the admittedly rigorous academic pursuits and projected the good image of Funaab in all activities. I like to emphasize that. And projected the good image of Funaab in all activities. Now let me ask a question now. For those who probably join Funaab later on, is the character, the atmosphere you find in Funaab, is it congruent with the agenda set by Professor Eno Adedipe at the beginning? I'd like us to ask ourselves a question. And I say, as our university culture be consistent over the years, if we sample our graduates of 90s, 20s, and those of recent years, do they have the same frame of mind, attitude, and social interactions? Can we boast, like it was in the 90s and early 2000s, that our students are committed to academic excellence? Can Funaab be referred to as a university of stable academic university culture from 1988 to date? Is it possible for us to conduct a survey to know how people see us now, both as students and staff? And possible for you to ruminate over that. Can I also add to it? As the culture that nurtures lecturers from assistant lecturer to professor, or assistant registrar to deputy registrar, over the years, same. As the culture that nurtures Funaab undergraduates, has it changed over the years? I'm asking this question. Then maybe we should ask this big question. Is there anything like Funaab culture again, based on what we have said earlier? Is there again a Funaab culture that students and staff need to adapt to when admitted or employed by the system? I don't know whether your answer is yes or no. But I feel that there is the need for self-evaluation. And we are the one to evaluate ourselves as a community. The different components, whether lecturer, administrative staff, whether cleaner, whether even the NAPEP driver, they're supposed to be part of the culture. Is there a need for us to sustain the prevailing Funaab University culture, or there's the need for us to reinvent the desired Funaab University culture. Can I ask a question? Are you proud of the Funaab of nowadays? I must emphasize that culture shapes what people value and how they are likely to react to any change that might affect them. Like I said earlier, culture is not taught, but it permeates every part of the system in such a way that you notice it. Unilag is like, it is within Unilag and UI, they are within the community. I is far removed. If you look at Unilag within Bariga, I mean, you see people shouting, Bariga, Bariga, and then you cross the gate. But immediately you cross that gate, something tells you that you cannot carry the character that you are coming with from the bus that you drop from inside that university. When you go through Idowu and then you're about to cross into UI gate, you just see that immediately you cross that gate, the atmosphere is different. I like to ask a question. Is our atmosphere within, immediately you cross our gate, is it different from the atmosphere that is outside of the gate? If not, we need to do something. Interestingly, cultural learning is something that we can bring back to our families, to communities and institutions. And this will broaden our understanding of the system and increase our connectivity. I must emphasize here, serious academic institutions put up a determined effort to sustain the university culture irrespective of the environmental dictates. What's the way forward? Like I asked the other time, do we return to where we were as a university community or invent our culture? I'm asking my audience too. If we are to reinvent our university culture, it must be by deliberate effort. It must be a determined effort that will start with the people at the gate, to those of us who are at the Senate chamber, to those at every of the sphere of Funaab. There must be one thing we will do. We will desire to promote the system. When I say system now, I mean Funaab. We must promote the system and reduce the influence of all these primordial sentiments like religion, where you come from, and their allies. We must do everything possible to raise the consciousness of our students, first to Funaab, before any other thing. They must see themselves first as Funaab students. And I must say this. In those days when our students are coming in as undergraduate, they already carry some level of Funaab culture in them. I've looked at the recent set of students. I was talking to my class 2 days ago, and I said they were under-level students. I look at their dressing, I look at their comportment. I told them that I will pardon them because it's first semester. I said next semester they need to conform to the Funaab University culture. I want to say this. It may look in rebuilding. We also need to help Funaab, which is thank the university community, especially the VC, the deputy VC academics for this opportunity, and to thank the director and his people in ICTREC for this lecture. I must say, and I want to conclude, that the university culture is what we are without saying a word, is what we are without any announcement. And therefore, let's revisit Funaab University culture and make our brand to be the best. Thank you. God bless. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.